Hi, Jayanth. Good to see you back.
Hi, Leslie. Good to see you.
I think we have to start changing this way of addressing each other because each and every time we're saying, yeah, obviously it's going to
It
be
is
good to
good
see
to
you back.
see each
No,
other.
but,
Yeah.
but, but genuinely, I mean, so how was your weekend?
My weekend, I did something this weekend. Oh, yeah, I was in Pune. It was actually a good weekend. I was
Ah,
at the Symbiosis University, the Symbiosis School of Sports Sciences. I'm an advisor there and a visiting faculty. So they had an induction day. So I was doing a keynote speech there. It was good. It was actually very good to interact with the students, the faculty. I met the director of Sports Authority of India and also the captain of Indian women rugby team. Okay, Miss Babis Barucha. So great interaction. I was in Pune over the weekend, Saturday and
I'm,
Sunday.
I'm sure you would have spoken about AI
Oh,
because
yes.
there's no way you'll lose the chance of speaking about AI.
There was a 2 hour workshop. I mean, it was an induction day. So there were parents and the new batch of BSc students, BSc of Sports Science and Honors, and MBA students. So I had a 2 hour slot. So yeah, I mean, obviously I spoke about AI in sports.
Yeah, AI and sports, yeah, favorite subject.
Yeah.
But AI and robots are making news.
Yes.
Oh, I mean,
Yes.
you had this South Korea stuff, the incident that happened in South Korea. So there was a robot supervisor
Yeah.
that apparently committed suicide. When I'm saying
Yeah.
suicide,
Committed
suicide in
suicide.
quotes.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I plan to discuss this week. Of course, there's some other interesting tidbits about OpenAI and Apple, OpenAI and Microsoft, and of course, we'll speak a little bit about the World Intellectual Property Rights. We
Right.
post a new report which is about the AI, Gen AI patents, not
Patents.
AI patents, but Gen AI
Yeah. Patents
patents.
by different
So
countries. Yeah.
absolutely. But let's first start with our favorite subject of AI and robots. So we have been speaking about humanoids for quite some time.
Yeah.
The interesting part, just to give a context to this news, which I think some of our viewers and listeners may have, come across this item where a robo supervisor in one of the municipal halls in South Korea, it now I'm just presenting the facts.
Yeah.
It collapsed
Yeah. I fell off
and
the stairs, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, now whether it fell off the stairs, whether somebody pushed it, whether the sensors failed or whatever, the some sections of the media blew it up by talking about saying that it's a suicide, and it's understandable because South Korea has the highest density of robots.
Yeah.
That's one part of it, and I think South Koreans. From the cultural point of view, also they're very emotionally attached to their robots. So I think South Korea,
Just like
Japan,
Japanese. Yeah.
yeah.
Just like
So
Japanese.
yeah, they're typically like if this kind of an incident would have happened in India, I don't think anybody would have bothered.
Right.
Probably it would have made news for other reasons. And I remember even you used to have these delivery boys. There were some experiments with robots delivering for I
Yes.
think it was for KFC or for McDonald's. I'm not too or
One
some.
of those fast foods. I mean, in fact, Bangalore has a restaurant in Indiranagar where all your waiting staff and service staff are robots. Okay. So we the entire restaurant staff are robots. So, Bangalore, all these things.
But the interesting part is this exactly this. So when we have robots, the whole idea was to have a 24 by 7 working machine. Okay. Regardless, I mean, you would probably, keep replace one of these robots when it has to go for maintenance and all that kind of stuff. But in this particular case, the robo fell down the stairs or collapsed or whatever term you want to use, and it was touted as the first robo suicide. So I then after that I you remember I wrote a piece on that and there was a reason for writing that piece because I wanted to make people aware that one, if you use the word suicide, it already implies that the robot is self-aware, that the robot can feel and think and can feel emote, and the feelings of depression, for that matter of fact. So you're already, it's bordering on AGI, or the artificial intelligence, where machines are becoming as smart as human beings, or even smarter, for that matter of fact, sentient kind of human beings. Of course, there's nothing like that. I think we have been seeing too much science fiction, for that matter of fact. But this robot used to work 9 to 6 p.m. Very interesting.
Exactly. That's what I mean. So, whatever the fall, the deactivation, whatever happened during the off office hours, so nobody knew what exactly happened. Okay. And it was found at the landing of a stairs. So they're saying that it fell off the stairs or something. So no one knew what happened. But the company that built that has come up with a statement that it was malfunctioning, for a few days in the past, right? The company that built the robot, I think they came up with a
Their
statement.
robotics.
Yeah. They did come out with a statement that they did observe, they collected data and it was malfunctioning. So there's a good chance that that only gotten worse and the robot deactivated. There's no such thing as robo suicide. Like you said, it's got to be the Koreans' emotional connect to their robots.
I mean, it is a tendency known as anthropomorphism. So anthropomorphism is basically, the tendency of human beings to attribute our human kind of feelings to machines, or to any other kind of objects. I mean, my favorite topic. I won't.
Exactly. I was gonna
Yeah.
say Leslie the philosopher is coming
No,
out.
but so that's why I will resist the temptation of going there. But having said that, even in April, there was a very similar incident. I think that time the company involved was Agility Robotics. And a very similar kind of incident had happened, where the robot fell down or collapsed, or whatever it be. And Agility Robotics, they did make a statement saying that no, there was nothing called sentient and all that kind of stuff. So they clarified it. So I think, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, I think it's important to make a distinction that machines are here; they're not sentient in any way, and the suicide is, I think, somebody's cute way of, saying that robots should not be working as much as us. Because the whole question is whether robots have rights.
Right.
So this
Right.
is like if you have watched a movie like Bicentennial Man, where
Yeah.
Robert Williams is an NDR-14 robot. He gets bio upgrades. And then eventually, also, his master or his owner starts paying him real wages. And then
Correct. Correct.
he becomes the oldest human being as declared by the court. But then, the robot has to be declared a legal person. So, of course,
Right.
we're very, very far away. So, while Sophia might be a citizen of Saudi Arabia, in no way is Sophia a legal person. So, well, we can go ad nauseum on this till the cows come home. We can talk about this. It's a
Humanoids. Yeah. Humanoids and what they're doing. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of, but I then the whole point I think here is importantly is that there's nothing called sentient as of now.
Yes.
Now talking about AI patents, very interestingly, so WIPO, or
Yeah.
the World Intellectual Property Organization, has come up with this report
Report.
early July, and it talks about Gen AI patent.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember the numbers right, it was 54,000 total number of patents.
Patents or patent classes? Patents.
Patent families.
Patent families. Yeah.
Yeah.
Patent
Now,
classes and families. Yeah.
yeah. So patent families would include all the kind of patents, because I think that's important for people. So it's not a single patent, a family of patents, and it's 54,000. But Gen AI patents basically are 6% of all the AI patents filed as of now. And remember, they are just talking about the finding of patents. They're not even talking about the quality of the patents. They're not getting there. China by far had, I think, about 32% or some 32,000.
32,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
32,000
Highest in the world.
highest.
Highest
And
in the world.
next was, I think, US
US.
5,000, 6,500 or
6,000 odd. Yeah. 6,000 odd.
and
Big
India
difference.
was about 1,500 or so.
Yeah.
And I think, as I mentioned in my tech talk also, the heartening fact is that India has got the high average rate growth was the highest among all these. if it's some consolation.
I've had a few conversations with the industry folks in the last week on the WIPO report, and the general sentiment amongst the industry leaders and the people in the know, and even people from the academia, is that the quality of patents that are being filed in India, needs to go up. There's a lot of headroom in that, and this I learned from some of the AI researchers and entrepreneurs and practitioners as well. They also keep saying, Jen, even if you look at the active, white papers that are filed by Indian researchers, or even the projects on GitHub that are filed by the Indian AI engineers, the difference in quality, okay, especially on active, okay, compared to the Chinese researchers, there's a huge difference. So the quality, even though India is at about 1500, this one as per the WIPO report.
So
And like
I was just cross-checking the numbers. So China is 38,210.
wow,
US is 6,276. Korea is 4,155. Japan is 3,409. And India is
wow,
1,350. So China would be accounting for 70% of all the Gen AI patents filed in the decade. This is in the decade through 2023. And it's 6 times more than the US.
wow. Yeah, and you know what this reminds me of, Leslie? I remember in 2019, I was doing a keynote for this Norwegian company, and I was giving the 2018 patent numbers. Okay. In 2018, China had again the world's highest number of AI patents filed. I think at that point of time it was 30,000, out of which 16,000 were in computer vision. I mean, if you remember pre-COVID, China was far ahead in terms of its computer vision AI research. Okay, they had implemented the social credit scoring system in the entire country with 175 million cameras. Okay, they were far ahead, and post-COVID, we don't know much about the AI work or the AI research coming out of China. I think it's only in the recent past, in the last 6 months or so, that we are getting some indication. But between 2020 and 2023, for three and a half years, we didn't get anything. But pre-COVID, I remember, China was again leading the world in terms of AI patents, and back then the traditional AI computer vision patents and the
But
work.
it's the usual suspects basically: Tencent, Baidu, Alibaba Group, ByteDance.
No, the universities as well, Leslie. The Tsinghua
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
University and a few other
I'm talking
universities.
about the now. When you look at the top 10 AI Gen AI patent applicants, they're Tencent,
Mhm.
Ping and Insurance, Baidu, Chinese Academy of Sciences,
Yeah.
IBM, Alibaba Group, Samsung, Alphabet, ByteDance, and Microsoft.
Wow.
So OpenAI doesn't have a figure in this particular thing. And
Interesting.
this is one of the major question marks over OpenAI, because remember when OpenAI started, it started out as a open source kind of.
And it was an AI research, non-profit research firm to advance responsible AI development, right? So
So
their
OpenAI
entire
has now
work.
realized, so now, because it requires patents. So it just has about what, I think less than 10 patents in this area.
Yeah,
So because I was
very
looking
interesting.
at
I
some of
mean,
the figures. Yeah.
they've gone ahead and called themselves a for-profit company in the last year or so, any which way. So I think they lost. I won't say they lost. They pivoted out of their founding tenets.
Yeah, I mean, they changed the structure has gone through a lot of changes. And of course, the interesting part is now Microsoft has pulled out because of the antitrust kind of uh, concerns that they had over there. So that's an interesting
Pulled
thing.
out of the
And
board. Pulled out of the board. You mean?
yes, pulled out
Yeah,
of the board
yeah,
because
yeah.
I think everybody's suspecting it's because of the antitrust stuff. But
Could be. Yeah, we don't know the reason. And
no,
at the same
nobody.
time, Apple gets an observer seat on the board
Yes.
with the partnership. Okay, with the
That's a
iOS partnership.
that's a
Okay.
trade-off for the technology, I think so.
That's a trade-off for the technology.
Yeah,
And no,
yeah.
it's also part of, I think US government came up with this AI sort of a supervisory committee. Okay.
Hmm.
And and certain big tech companies are part of those committee. And it's through the responsibility for that committee is what Apple gets that observer role on OpenAI's board. And Phil Schiller, their chief marketing officer, is actually taking that role. Apple's CMO.
Very interestingly, coming back to the WIPO report, because you were talking about the AI patents, and you said we were mentioning that, okay, fine, because we have spoken about this in the past also. It was around, computer vision, image recognition, etc. So this time also, this time around, as far as Gen AI patents are concerned, 17,996 inventions have been filed in the patents have been filed in the image and video data segment.
Interesting.
So text
So
is
multimodal,
yeah.
models. Yeah.
So text is 13,500 or so. Speech music is also 13,500 or so. This is pretty interesting. But Gen AI patents in the using molecule, gene, protein-based data, etc., they just have about 1,500. So this is
Interesting.
I found it pretty interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And early days, I think first WIPO report on Gen AI as as a entire patent category, okay, to be captured. I think these are very early days. The next 2 years reports will be very interesting to watch and follow.
You're right. As far as India is concerned, see, I think the important thing is with if one is wondering, okay, with 1,300 or 1,305, 1,350 or whatever that number is, less than 1,500 for that matter of fact, what chance does India stand? The interesting part is that, as you rightly said, the quality of patents is something that we do not, is suspect. I think the good part is, as discussed during the Global AI Summit that they had recently, the
Right,
Indian,
last week.
yeah.
July
Now,
3rd and 4th.
I think there are 2 or 3 things that are happening. One is, of course, this whole Make in India movement. Semiconductors, yes, in the 28 to 40 nanometer thing, we have spoken about that at length.
Yes, extensively.
And in fact, actually, a very senior CEO, one of the CEOs in the industry who is actually doing a lot of stuff in this area, he was asking me, saying, like, no, but why is it that India is not, why are you saying that India is not capable of doing a 2 nanometer or a 5 nanometer semiconductor plant? I said, I'm not saying it,
Yeah.
I said, are you seeing it? He said,
Yes,
if you
exactly.
feel that you can do it, why aren't you doing it? Because
Right.
obviously, I said there's something called 18 to $20 billion that you will have to spend at one go. And the problem is
And
also about technology obsolescence in this area. By the time you get to
exactly.
nanometers and the gestation period 3 to 5 years, even if you say I'm reducing it from 5 to 7 years to 3 to 5 years, even then it becomes a little difficult when you are building something, because nobody is sitting tight out there at the other end. There's TSMC.
Exactly. And Leslie, the question is also that of capability, skill sets at scale. And most importantly, it's a journey. You can't, the fab and the semiconductor fab ecosystem or the industry doesn't exist in India. You can't go ahead and say that we will, kickstart it by making the best and the most sophisticated and the most complex chipsets at two nanometers or 5 nanometers. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it's a journey to get to 2 and 5 nanometers over the years. You have to start, at 28, 40 nms and then keep coming. And then at the same time, you will be when you're building the industry and the ecosystem, you are building the skill set as well. I mean, look at what the IT services industry has done. Look at what telecom industry has done. I remember when I joined telecom industry 21 years ago, we hardly had any telecom professionals in the country. I mean, only BSNL folks. And every private company that had launched was taking BSNL folks. So, as the telecom industry grew in the country, it did also create, talented professionals, professionals with skill sets and expertise, right? I mean, it's a journey. Okay.
No, absolutely. I fully subscribe to that point, and that's exactly what I've been. My whole, discussion with this CEO was that, let's hold ourselves. Even if it takes another 10, 20 years, we'll eventually get there. But it's a good start. But if you've gone directly to 2 nanometers, 5 nanometers, we would not only forget meeting with the resistance. The point is, arranging for that kind of $20 billion at one go for one single plant. Here you can do it with a lot of subsidies with the government, academia, and other kind of cooperation, etc. I think it's a good step. It's a good move. The India AI mission is a good move. The move to secure GPUs, 10,000 GPUs to begin with, that's a good move. I I think India is doing, moving in the right direction. Uh, there's
No,
a tendency
no,
to
I think
become
the government,
impatient, but it's
yeah,
worth it.
over the last few years, the government has been doing all the right things. Ever since I remember, I think for me the big trigger or the change has been ever since Niti Aayog has been set up, right? Ever since
Yeah.
Niti Aayog has been set up, there has been this process where industry professionals, industry experts can come work with the government, consult with the government, okay, without going through the bureaucratic processes, without being civil servants, okay. And and Niti Aayog was sort of gatekeeper slash platform for industry engagement, and that brought in a lot of. I honestly believe Indian government's understanding, regulation, policy making, understanding of new technologies, and how to go about building either guardrails or policies or frameworks is one of the most progressive in the world. Okay.
And yeah, I've been reading some of these papers when, of course, the Niti Aayog 2018 paper on AI itself was
Right. Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
telling, and it was an
Correct.
extremely detailed paper. In 2020, DOT came out with another paper also, if I'm
Yes.
20,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken. And that was also on AI. And that was also very, it built on what Niti Aayog had said and did a lot
Correct.
work on that. I thought even that was a very finely chiseled kind of paper. What I liked most was during the Global AI Summit, Ashwini Vaishnav spoke about, using the DPI approach for AI. Now, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, the DPI is the digital public infrastructure. So basically, it was earlier called the India Stack, and many people might remember it as the India Stack, and it comprises the Aadhaar, the UPI, which is the Unified Interface Payments Interface. Then you have the DigiKey, the FASTag,
DigiDocker. Yeah.
yeah, the DigiLocker, and then of
Yeah.
course the ONDC account aggregator and many other
The
such.
Digi Yatra on your the one that's used
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
airports. Yeah.
And
For
of course
identification.
we are forgetting one of the most important applications of the India Stack or the DPI, the Ayushman Health Stack, the
Health
one with,
stack. Correct.
yeah, because it's something which is close to your heart also. So I
Exactly.
think using that similar approach for AI might actually work because DPI has been a success. When I was looking at the numbers, in fact, when I wrote the piece on the DPI, I explained the kind of numbers bear out, and there is a very good, reason for taking, adopting the DPI approach. Except that my only concern, or not a concern, I would rather say that. You probably, and these are where I might, I like your thoughts. When I look at the DPI, you're typically looking at single technology stacks.
Right.
For
Right.
instance,
Right.
ONDC has got the backend protocol. And
Yeah.
the technology is like, when you're talking about AI, you're not talking about any one technology. You're talking
Yeah.
about computer vision, you're talking about image recognition, machine learning, deep learning, and of course,
Semiconductors, compute,
NLP, Gen AI,
compute.
compute,
Yeah.
etc. So I
Yeah.
think that drawing a parallel bit, it's a nice catchphrase saying that I'm going to use the DPI approach, and it's a
Approach.
very sensible thing, and we get the drift. I think
Yeah,
we
we
get
get the drift. We can draw a parallel, but I think when we have to draw a parallel with DPI approach for AI, it needs to be at the AI services and the applications level. Okay, and like you mentioned, AI is a technology. AI is a full-fledged core, standalone technology unto itself, and it itself has its own stack. Right, starting from we start from semiconductors with the GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs and everything. And if you actually look at it now, power and the power consumption and power utility is also becoming a part of the AI stack because of the amount of power that has been consumed by some of these generative AI frontier models, foundational models, and the queries, right? So we have power as a part of the stack. Then we have semiconductors. Okay. Then we have the frontier models, okay, the foundational models in the case of Gen AI that are being built. Okay, in the case of traditional AI, the AI algorithms, okay, machine learning algorithms and the deep learning algorithms that are being built with the hidden layers. Okay, then we'll have, then on top of that, we'll have, applications and services layer. So there are 4 or 5 different layers in AI as a technology itself. So the DPI approach or the DPI framework, let me call it this. The DPI framework might be applicable only for the topmost layer, but the core layers need to have a different approach.
No, but I think also to be fair to Ashwini Vaishnav is that when he was making a reference to the DPI approach, I don't think it is, a lock, stock, and barrel kind of stuff. I'm sure they also there are plenty of technologists and bureaucrats who understand this space very, very well. I think the insistence was more on using the DPI approach to avoid monopolies and use open source technologies. I think
Right.
I thought these were very, very valid points when you talk about, because his point time and again, he keeps on reiterating at every forum. And I think it's a very important thing that he wants AI for all. The way, DPI services or DPI applications are available to everybody, like UPI has changed, it has allowed for financial inclusion. Account aggregator has managed to do that. ONDC has managed to do that for, in the retail sector. So for SMEs and for those MSMEs, etc. So I think that's a very, very valid point. I like the idea actually.
Yeah. I mean, the thought process is good. Okay. And need to look how the implementation goes, execution goes.
Yeah, so let's see how it goes. And on that note, I think we'll end today's podcast. So see you next week with a lot more.
See you next week, Leslie.